The Alpha King opened the stable door expecting to find dying wolves. Instead he found a young woman sleeping on the cold straw with 6 sick wolves curled around her like children. Her hands were bleeding. Her clothes were torn. And in her arms she held the smallest wolf cub in the kingdom. The king had never seen anything like it. Then something impossible happened. The dying wolves stood up one by one and walked to her. Not to him. To her. The cub licked her face and the entire stable became silent. The Alpha King's beast suddenly roared inside him. Before he could speak, a scream echoed from outside. She poisoned the royal wolves. Guards rushed in. The girl looked up with tears in her emerald eyes and whispered only one sentence. I only wanted to save them. The king did not know it yet. But the servant girl he was about to destroy was carrying his future. And 6 years later he would fall to his knees begging her and their secret son for forgiveness. The wolf should have been dead by morning. Its breathing was weak and uneven. Frost clung to its white fur and its body trembled beneath the thin layer of straw. Around it lay 6 other wolves. Some had their eyes closed. Some stared at nothing. Some were too tired even to whimper. Then the stable door opened. A young woman slipped inside carrying a lantern and a bundle of old blankets. The cold wind followed her for a moment before the door closed again. She smiled. There you are, my stubborn friends. The smallest wolf lifted its head. Its tail moved once, then twice. The young woman hurried toward it and dropped to her knees. I brought fresh herbs tonight, she whispered. You have to keep fighting. She wrapped the tiny wolf in a blanket and pulled it into her lap. The cub licked her hand. A soft laugh escaped her lips. You always make me smile. This was Elara Ashwood, an orphan, stable girl. A girl nobody in the palace ever noticed. During the day she cleaned stalls and carried water. The servants mocked her old dresses and tangled auburn hair. The nobles never learned her name. But every night she came here. To the forgotten wolves. The sick wolves. The ones everyone believed would die. One by one the animals moved toward her. A gray wolf rested its head against her shoulder. Another curled beside her feet. Soon she was surrounded by warm bodies and soft breaths. For the first time all day she felt less alone. You understand me better than people do, she said softly. The wolves listened. The lantern light painted her emerald eyes gold. Outside snow covered the kingdom. Inside the stable it felt almost peaceful. Elara leaned against a wooden post and closed her eyes. She began to sing. It was a quiet song. A song her grandmother used to sing before she died. The wolves relaxed. Their breathing slowed. The tiny cub fell asleep in her arms. And then came the sound. A low growl. Not from the wolves. From the doorway. Elara's eyes opened. A tall figure stood there. Broad shoulders. Dark clothing. Black hair touched by snow. Blue eyes sharp as winter ice. A silver crown rested upon his head. The Alpha King. Darius Blackthorn. Her breath caught. No one ever saw the king in the stables. No one. She stood so quickly that the sleeping cub almost slipped from her lap. Your Majesty. Her voice barely came out. Darius did not answer. He simply stared. Her. At the wolves. At the impossible scene before him. He had come to check on his dying wolves. Instead he found a young woman sleeping among them as though she belonged there. One of the gray wolves stood and walked to Elara. It leaned against her leg. The king frowned. That wolf hated everyone. Even the royal healers. Who are you? He finally asked. I work in the stables. You work here? Yes, Your Majesty. Then why are you in my wolf den? Elara swallowed. 'Cause they were cold. He blinked. She looked down at the wolves. Everyone left them alone. I did not want them to die by themselves. Silence filled the stable. No one should die alone. The words settled deep inside him. The king had seen war. He had watched soldiers die. He had buried friends. But hearing this simple stable girl say those words made something tighten in his chest. A soft whimper came from the cub. Elara immediately bent and stroked its head. The animal relaxed. Darius watched every movement. The wolves trusted her. More than that, they loved her. Then something strange happened. The tiny cub climbed from her arms. It trotted toward the king. Darius crouched slightly. The cub stopped in front of him. Then it turned around and ran straight back to Elara. The little creature climbed into her lap and hid there. The king froze. Inside him his wolf suddenly woke. The word exploded through his mind. His heart slammed against his ribs. Impossible. He stared at her. At her long auburn hair. At her pale face. At her emerald eyes. She smelled like wildflowers after rain. Like moonlight. Like something he had searched for all his life. She was a servant. An orphan. She could not be his mate. And yet his wolf refused to be silent. Elara looked up. For one brief moment their eyes met. A strange warmth passed between them. She felt it too. She did not know why. But standing near him made her heart race. She quickly looked away. The stable door suddenly burst open. Lady Seraphina entered. Her white fur cloak dragged across the floor. Jewels glittered around her neck. She stopped the moment she saw Elara. Then she saw the wolves. Then she saw the king watching the girl. Something ugly flashed through her eyes. What is this? Darius slowly stood. The wolves seem calmer tonight. Because of her. Seraphina looked at Elara again. This dirty stable girl. This nobody. Why was the king looking at her like that? She stepped closer. Why are you touching these animals? I was helping them. Helping. Her voice sharpened. You expect me to believe that? The wolves are sick. No. Then perhaps you made them sick. Elara's face turned pale. You heard me. I would never hurt them. Seraphina folded her arms. How interesting. Every healer failed. Every physician failed. Yet you spend your nights here and suddenly the wolves obey you. That sounds suspicious. The stable suddenly felt colder. Elara shook her head. I only wanted to help. The future queen's eyes narrowed. Guards. 2 soldiers rushed inside. Take her. Elara stepped back. Please. I've done nothing wrong. One of the guards grabbed her arm. At once a deep growl filled the stable. Every wolf had risen. The old white wolf stepped in front of Elara. Its teeth were bared. The tiny cub stood beside it. Even the dying wolves struggled to their feet. The guards froze. Darius stared in disbelief. The wolves were protecting her. Wait, who is she? Seraphina suddenly looked nervous. Then she hid it. She pointed at Elara. Look at them. She has bewitched them. I have not. Silence. Then hurried footsteps echoed outside. A servant burst through the door. Your Majesty. What happened? The servant was shaking. Another wolf has died. The stable became completely still. Slowly Seraphina turned toward Elara. A cruel smile appeared on her face. There it is. The proof. She pointed at the girl. She poisoned them. Elara's voice broke. I did not. Arrest her immediately. The guards seized her. The tiny cub bit one of the soldiers. The man shouted. The wolves howled. Elara's eyes filled with tears. Please, she whispered. I only wanted to save them. The king looked at her. Something inside him twisted painfully. His wolf growled. She's ours. Do not let them take her. But his mind was full of questions. Who was this girl? Why did the wolves trust her? And why did losing sight of her suddenly feel unbearable? The guards dragged Elara toward the door. She looked back once. Straight at him. There was fear in her eyes. And sadness. As if she could not understand why this was happening. The stable door slammed shut. The howls of the wolves echoed through the night. And for the first time in many years the Alpha King felt something close to fear. Because deep inside him his wolf whispered a terrible truth. If she leaves tonight, everything will change. The prison cell smelled of cold stone and rain. Elara sat on the floor with her back against the wall. Her hands trembled. She still could not understand what had happened. Only an hour ago she had been singing to the wolves. Now she was locked inside a dark cell like a criminal. A tear rolled down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. Crying would change nothing. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Heavy footsteps. The guards straightened. A moment later the cell door opened. Alpha King Darius stepped inside. The torchlight danced across his face. He looked tired and strangely troubled. The guards bowed and left them alone. Silence filled the room. Elara slowly stood. "Your Majesty." He looked at her for a long time. "You really slept in the stables every night?" She nodded. "Oui. 'Cause they needed someone." That simple answer made his chest tighten again. "You knew they were dangerous." "They were never dangerous to me." "I do not know." She looked down. "They always seem to recognize me." The king took a slow breath. His wolf stirred restlessly. The word came again. Louder this time. He ignored it. "Did you poison them?" The question cut through her like a blade. Her eyes widened. "You believe that?" Asked a question. She lifted her head. "Well, I would rather die than hurt those wolves." The honesty in her voice shook him. She looked heartbroken. Not angry. Not afraid. Heartbroken. As if the accusation itself had wounded her. "Then why are they dying?" "I do not know." She swallowed hard. "But I know they were getting worse before I ever entered the stable." The king frowned. "Before you entered?" She nodded. "I found strange powders in their food. Threw them away." His eyes sharpened. "You never told anyone." Nobody listens to a stable girl. Silence. For the first time a seed of doubt entered his mind. Perhaps she was innocent. Perhaps someone else was responsible. Then the cell door suddenly opened again. Lady Seraphina walked inside. Her face looked pale and worried. "I was looking for you." She stopped when she saw Elara standing near the king. "Why are you here with her?" "Have questions." "There are no questions left." She turned toward Elara. "You murdered another wolf tonight." "Well." Elara's voice cracked. "I did not." Seraphina sighed. "Even now you lie." "I have witnesses." Elara stared at her. "Witnesses?" "Stable workers saw you mixing herbs." "I was making medicine." "Poison, you mean?" The king looked at Elara. She looked completely stunned. She had never even met those workers. The future queen moved closer. "You should confess. Perhaps the king will show mercy." Elara's hands curled into fists. "I will never confess to something I did not do." Seraphina smiled. "Then you leave us no choice." She turned toward Darius. "The kingdom is frightened. People believe someone is attacking the royal pack. They need justice." The king remained silent. Seraphina lowered her voice. "You cannot protect her simply because she has a pretty face." The word struck him. Was that what he was doing? Protecting her? Oui. He barely knew this girl. Yet the thought of leaving her here filled him with unease. Then his wolf spoke again. "She's ours. Protect her." He clenched his jaw. Well, he was king first. He had responsibilities. He looked at Elara. "If I discover you are innocent, the first will know." She nodded slowly. "And if I discover you are guilty?" She lifted her chin. "Then I will accept whatever punishment you give me. No fear. No begging. Only dignity." For a moment he admired her courage. Then he turned and walked away. The cell door closed. Elara was alone again. Hours passed. The storm outside grew stronger. Rain hammered the castle walls. Near midnight the prison door opened once more. This time it was not the king. It was an old servant woman carrying a tray. He set it down. "Child, I am not hungry. You should be. Tomorrow will be difficult." Elara looked up. "Tomorrow." The woman sighed. "The king has called for a public hearing. The entire kingdom will be there." Chill passed through Elara. Public hearing. She knew what that meant. Humiliation. Judgment. Possibly death. The old woman touched her shoulder. "I have worked in this castle for 40 years. I know evil when I see it. And I do not think it lives in you." Tears filled Elara's eyes. Thank you. The woman gave her a sad smile and left. The cell became quiet again. Elara wrapped her arms around herself. For the first time she was afraid. Not of prison, not of punishment, but of losing the wolves. She might never see them again. She closed her eyes. And suddenly she remembered the king's face. The strange look in his blue eyes. The warmth she had felt when he stood near her. What had that been? Why did thinking about him make her heart ache? She did not understand. Morning came too quickly. The prison door opened. Guards entered. It is time. They led her through the castle. People gathered in every corridor. Whispers followed her. Murderer. But, prisoner. She lowered her eyes. The words hurt. But she kept walking. The great courtyard was filled with hundreds of people. Nobles, servants, soldiers. At the center stood a wooden platform. The king sat upon his throne. Lady Seraphina stood beside him. Elara's heart pounded. The guards pushed her forward. The entire kingdom stared at her. Darius looked at her face. She looked small standing there alone. Yet she held herself with quiet strength. A strange feeling settled in his chest. The royal advisor stepped forward. Elara Ashwood. You are accused of poisoning the royal wolves. How do you answer? She lifted her head. I am innocent. The crowd erupted. Liar. But, murderer. She flinched. Then a servant walked onto the platform. Darius recognized him. One of the stable workers. The man bowed. I saw her mixing strange herbs every night. Another servant stepped forward. I saw her feeding the wolves. Third came. She often entered the stable after midnight. Every word pushed the crowd further against her. Elara stared in disbelief. She had never spoken to these people. Why were they lying? Then she looked at Seraphina. The future queen smiled. Very slightly. Understanding hit Elara like lightning. This was a trap. The hearing had been decided long before she arrived. The advisor turned toward the king. Your Majesty, the evidence is clear. The kingdom demands justice. Silence filled the courtyard. Everyone waited. Darius looked at Elara. His wolf howled in anger. Do not do this. But he was king. A king could not ignore witnesses. Could not ignore fear in his people. Slowly he stood. Elara's heart stopped. By royal decree. His voice echoed across the courtyard. Elara Ashwood is banished from this kingdom. Gasps filled the air. She stared at him. Banished. You will leave before sunset. And you will never return. A tear slid down her cheek. The king looked away. He could not bear her expression. The guards stepped forward. The crowd cheered. Some laughed. Some threw dirt at her feet. Elara felt her world breaking apart. She had lost her home, her wolves, everything. Then suddenly pain twisted inside her stomach. She gasped. The world spun. The guards caught her. Your Majesty, she looks ill. Elara pressed a hand against her stomach. A strange warmth spread through her body. Then she remembered. Her monthly cycle had not come. Not last month. Not this month. Her face turned white. A terrifying possibility entered her mind. No, it could not be. But deep inside her heart she already knew. As the crowd continued shouting around her, one truth rose like a storm. She was carrying the Alpha King's child. Snow fell softly as the gates of the kingdom opened. Elara stood outside the enormous stone walls with nothing but a small cloth bag in her hands. Behind her was the only home she had ever known. Ahead of her was a white, empty world. The guards did not look at her. One of them simply pointed toward the forest. Keep walking. She nodded. Her throat hurt too much to speak. The gates slowly closed behind her. The sound echoed like the ending of a life. She was alone. A cold wind blew across the road. Elara pulled her thin cloak tighter around herself and began to walk. Step after step. Snow crunched beneath her feet. She did not know where she was going. She only knew she could never return. Hours passed. The sky darkened. Her body ached, but the pain inside her chest was worse. She could still hear the people shouting, "Murderer! A prisoner!" She stopped beside an old tree and closed her eyes. Then she saw his face. Alpha King. The man who had looked at her as though he knew her. The man who had banished her. A tear slipped down her cheek. Why did that hurt more than everything else? Her hand slowly moved to her stomach. She swallowed. Could it be true? Could there really be a child growing inside her? She had never known love. Never dreamed of becoming a mother. And now everything had changed. A sudden sound came from the trees. Crunch. Elara looked up. Nothing. Then another sound. Crunch. Someone was there. Her heart began to pound. Hello. No answer. The forest grew silent. Too silent. She started walking again. Faster this time. The sound returned. A step. More than one pair. He turned around. Still nothing. The trees stood dark and still. A cold feeling crawled through her body. Someone was following her. She hurried down the snowy path. The footsteps grew faster. Her breathing quickened. Then a voice came from behind. Ran. Branches struck her face. Snow flew beneath her feet. Another voice shouted, "Do not let her escape." Terror exploded inside her. 3 men stepped out from the trees ahead of her. Their faces were hidden beneath dark hoods. She stopped so suddenly she almost fell. The men behind her appeared. She was surrounded. "Who are you?" No one answered. One of them pulled out a knife. Fear filled her chest. "I have nothing to steal." The man laughed. "We are not here to rob you." "Then why are you here?" The tallest man stepped forward. "Orders." Her blood turned cold. "Orders? Who would send men after an orphan stable girl?" He took a step back. "What do you want?" The man looked directly at her. "You are not supposed to leave this forest alive." The words struck her like ice. She turned and ran. A hand caught her cloak. Fabric tore. She stumbled into the snow. The men rushed toward her. "Mo." She scrambled backward. "Please." One of them raised his knife. Then a howl split the night. Every man froze. Another howl answered. Then another. The forest suddenly came alive. Wolves. Large gray shapes emerged from between the trees. Their eyes glowed gold. The hooded men stepped back. "Impossible." The lead wolf growled. Its fur stood on end. The sound was deep and terrifying. Elara stared. She knew that wolf. It was one of the sick wolves from the stable. Another appeared. And another. There were 6 of them. The very wolves she had cared for. They had followed her. The men looked frightened. "Kill them." No one moved. The wolves attacked. Everything happened at once. Growls. Snow flying into the air. One of the men dropped his knife and ran. Another fell to the ground screaming. The rest disappeared into the darkness. Silence returned. The wolves slowly turned toward Elara. The white wolf walked to her first. It pressed its head against her hand. A sob escaped her lips. "Came." The wolf licked her fingers. She wrapped her arms around its neck and cried. For the first time since leaving the kingdom she did not feel alone. But then pain twisted through her stomach. Sudden. She gasped. The wolves immediately became restless. Another wave of pain hit her. She dropped to her knees. "Mo, not now." The white wolf began pacing. Her vision blurred. Snowflakes fell around her. Everything felt distant. Then she heard another voice. A woman's voice. "Child." Elara looked up. An old woman stood among the trees. She wore a dark blue cloak and carried a wooden staff. Silver hair spilled over her shoulders. Her eyes were kind. The wolves did not growl at her. They simply stepped aside. "Who are you?" The old woman hurried toward her. "Can ask you the same question." She knelt beside Elara. Then she looked at her face. Shock crossed her features. "Impossible." Elara frowned. The old woman's hand trembled as she touched the pendant around Elara's neck. A small silver moon. "Where did you get this?" My grandmother gave it to me. The old woman stared at the pendant. Tears suddenly appeared in her eyes. After all these years, Elara did not understand. Another wave of pain struck her. The old woman quickly supported her. You need shelter. Please. Cannot walk. Then you will not. The woman raised her hand. The wolves immediately gathered around them. Elara's eyes widened. You command them. The old woman smiled softly. No, child. They are obeying you. I do not understand. You will. Very soon. The woman helped her onto the white wolf's back. The animal carried her gently through the forest. The journey felt endless. At last they reached a small cabin hidden among the mountains. A fire burned inside. The old woman laid blankets around Elara and gave her warm tea. The pain slowly eased. Thank you. The woman sat across from her. My name is Miriam. I have been waiting a very long time to meet you. Meet me. Miriam looked at the silver pendant. There are truths that were stolen from you. Truths buried beneath blood and lies. Elara's heart beat faster. I do not understand any of this. The old woman reached across the table and held her hand. You think you are an orphan. You think you are a stable girl. But you are neither. Silence filled the room. The fire crackled softly. Miriam's eyes shone with tears. Your real name is not simply Elara Ashwood. You were born Elara Moonfong, the lost daughter of a royal bloodline. The hidden princess of the Moonfong kingdom. The world believes you died as a baby. But you lived. And now your enemies know it. The room seemed to spin. Elara could barely breathe. Princess. The word sounded impossible. Miriam squeezed her hand. There is more. Far more. But tonight you must rest. Because the people who tried to kill you will come again. And next time they will not fail. The fire flickered. Outside the cabin the wolves lifted their heads toward the moon. And for the first time in her life Elara realized one terrifying truth. She had never been an ordinary girl. She had been running from a destiny she never knew existed. The fire burned low. Elara did not sleep. She sat beside the window and watched snow fall over the mountains. Princess. The word would not leave her mind. She had repeated it 100 times and it still sounded like someone else's story. Princess did not clean stables. A princess did not sleep on straw beside dying wolves. A princess did not get thrown out of a kingdom with nothing but a torn cloak. Yet Elder Miriam had looked at her with complete certainty. At dawn the old woman entered the room carrying 2 cups of tea. You are awake. Could not sleep. That is expected. Miriam handed her a cup and sat beside her. For a while neither of them spoke. Finally Elara looked up. Tell me everything. The old woman nodded slowly. Many years ago there was a kingdom hidden beyond these mountains. The Moonfong Kingdom. It was ruled by King Aldrich and Queen Celine. They had one child. Daughter. Elara's fingers tightened around the cup. The queen possessed a rare gift. She could heal wolves and speak to them. The same gift flows through your blood. Elara thought of the sick wolves in the stable. The way they had trusted her. The way they had followed her through the forest. A chill ran through her. What happened to my parents? Miriam's face darkened. They were betrayed. Enemies attacked the palace. The king and queen died protecting you. I escaped with you in my arms. I hid you among ordinary people and prayed no one would find you. Elara lowered her eyes. Then my grandmother. She raised you as her own daughter. Tears filled Elara's eyes. All these years. All this time. She had belonged somewhere. She had a family. Kingdom. Name. And she had never known. Miriam gently touched her shoulder. Your mother believed one thing above all else. That one day you would return. Return where? To the throne that belongs to you. Elara almost laughed. Throne. Sounded impossible. I am not a queen. Oh, not yet. But you are the last Moonfong princess. Silence filled the room. Then suddenly a wave of sickness rolled through her. She pressed a hand against her stomach. Miriam immediately looked at her. How long have you been feeling this? Few days. The old woman smiled softly. You are carrying a child. The words settled like thunder. Even though she already suspected it, hearing them aloud changed everything. Child. Child. The Alpha King's child. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I do not know how to be a mother. No woman does at first. Fear rose inside her. What if I fail? Miriam took her hands. You crossed a frozen forest alone and protected wolves everyone abandoned. You will not fail this child. Elara lowered her head and cried. For the first time since leaving the kingdom, she allowed herself to grieve. For her lost home. For the wolves. For the man whose face still haunted her dreams. For the life that had ended. And for the new one beginning inside her. Days turned into weeks. Then weeks turned into months. Spring slowly touched the mountains. Miriam began teaching her. First it was simple. Healing herbs. Ancient prayers. The language of wolves. Then came the harder lessons. How to fight. How to survive. How to lead. You cannot remain the frightened stable girl forever. I never wanted to be anything else. That girl is gone. The words hurt because they were true. Elara changed. Her shoulders straightened. Her voice grew stronger. Her eyes became steadier. The wolves followed her everywhere. And whenever she touched an injured animal, a soft silver light appeared beneath her fingers. At first it frightened her. Then it amazed her. One afternoon a hawk with a broken wing fell near the cabin. Elara picked it up. The bird trembled. She closed her eyes. Warmth spread through her hands. Silver light glowed. A few moments later the hawk stretched its wings and flew away. She stared at her hands. He healed it. Miriam smiled. You are becoming who you were born to be. Summer arrived. Her belly grew round. The wolves became fiercely protective. One evening the white wolf suddenly began pacing. Something is wrong. A sharp pain cut through her body. She doubled over. Another pain came. Then another. Miriam looked at her and smiled. It is time. The storm outside grew fierce. Rain struck the roof. Thunder shook the mountains. Inside the cabin candles flickered. Hours passed. Pain came in waves. Elara gripped the blankets. Cannot do this. Yes you can. I am afraid. Miriam wiped her forehead. So was your mother. Every woman is. Then another pain ripped through her. She cried out. The wolves howled outside. At last the sound came. Babies cry. The room became still. Miriam gently placed the child into her arms. Little boy. Dark hair. Blue eyes. The exact same eyes as the Alpha King. Tears filled Elara's face. Hello. The baby wrapped his tiny fingers around hers. She felt her heart change forever. What should I call him? Miriam looked at the child. Rowan. She smiled. Rowan. The name felt right. That night she held him close and watched him sleep. He was so small. So perfect. Part of her. A part of the man she could never forget. Months passed. Then years. Rowan grew quickly. By the age of 6 he could run through the forest faster than most boys. The wolves adored him. Especially the white wolf who slept beside his bed every night. One afternoon Rowan came running toward the cabin. Mother. Look. A small bird sat on his shoulder. It refused to leave. Elara laughed. You have a gift with animals. Just like you. Her smile faded slightly. Perhaps. That evening Miriam arrived carrying a letter. Her face looked troubled. What happened? The old woman handed her the parchment. Elara's heart stopped. The northern clans have risen against the Alpha King. The kingdom is falling into chaos. She looked toward the mountains in the distance. For 6 years she had never spoken his name. Never asked about him. Yet her heart still remembered. Miriam watched her carefully. There is more. The royal healers are failing. A sickness has returned to the wolves. The same sickness. Elara's breath caught. Someone is poisoning them again. Silence filled the room. Then Rowan tugged at her sleeve. Mother. Why are you sad? She knelt and touched his face. 'Cause sometimes people need help. The little boy looked up at her with serious blue eyes. Then we should help them. Her heart squeezed. The child had his father's courage. Miriam stepped closer. Time has come. For what? The old woman looked directly into her eyes. To return. A cold wind swept across the mountains. Far away thunder rolled through the sky. Elara looked at her son. Then toward the distant kingdom she had once called home. She had left as a broken stable girl. But she would not return as one. And somewhere deep inside her heart a feeling awakened. Destiny had finally come for her. The kingdom looked smaller than she remembered. Elara stood on a hill overlooking the stone walls and felt her heart beat harder. 6 years. 6 long years had passed since she had walked through those gates in tears. Now she wore a deep blue cloak lined with silver thread. Her auburn hair fell neatly over her shoulders and confidence had replaced the frightened look that once lived in her eyes. Beside her stood Rowan. The little boy stared at the distant castle with wonder. Is that where the king lives? It is very big. She smiled softly. Yes, it is. The white wolf stood behind them like a silent guardian. Miriam stepped forward and placed a hand on Elara's shoulder. Remember who you are. I will. You are not returning as a servant. You are returning as a healer. Elara nodded. But inside her chest another truth waited. She was also returning as a mother. And the father of her child lived beyond those walls. She looked down at Rowan. Stay close to me. Always do. He reached for her hand. She held it tightly. Then together they walked toward the gates. The kingdom had changed. Soldiers filled the streets. Many buildings carried signs of fire and battle. People looked tired and frightened. War had touched this place. As they entered the market, a woman suddenly stumbled nearby. A basket of apples fell into the mud. The woman cried out and held her arm. It looked badly swollen. Without thinking, Elara walked over. May I see? The woman looked at her with surprise. Elara gently touched the injured arm. A faint silver glow appeared between her fingers. The pain disappeared. The swelling slowly faded. The woman gasped. You healed me. People nearby stopped walking. They stared. Who is she? Healer. The whispers spread quickly. Within minutes 3 more people approached her. Child with a fever. An old man with a bad leg. A soldier with an injured hand. Elara helped each one. Every face she touched filled with relief. By sunset, almost half the market knew that a mysterious healer had arrived. Far above the city in the royal palace, another man heard the same news. Darius stood beside a window. The war map on his table remained untouched. A servant bowed before him. The healer cured 6 people today. The king frowned. Yes, your majesty. And the people say she has strange powers. Darius looked out at the darkening sky. A healer with strange powers. For some reason the words stirred an old memory. A stable girl surrounded by wolves. He pushed the thought away. Bring her to the palace tomorrow. Once. The servant left. The king remained by the window. 6 years had passed and still he sometimes remembered her face. Still he sometimes wondered if he had made the wrong choice. And still his wolf became restless whenever snow fell. The next morning palace guards arrived at the inn. Elara already knew why they had come. The king requests your presence. She nodded calmly. Rowan looked up at her. Will I come too? The little boy smiled. I want to see the castle. Elara's stomach tightened. Do I? A short while later they entered the palace. Everything looked exactly as she remembered. The long halls. The marble floors. Tall windows. Only she had changed. Servants passed by without recognizing her. None of them remembered the stable girl. At last the guards opened the doors to the great hall. Darius stood near the throne. The moment he looked up the world seemed to stop. The woman entering the hall was beautiful. Her blue cloak moved like water. Her auburn hair shone in the sunlight. And her eyes. Emerald. He knew those eyes. His breath caught. Could not be. Elara slowly lowered her hood. For one long moment neither of them moved. She had changed, yet she had not changed at all. The same face, the same eyes, the same scent. Moonlight, wildflowers. His wolf suddenly roared. The force of it nearly staggered him. Elara's own heart began racing. Seeing him again felt like reopening an old wound. He looked older, more tired. The scar on his jaw seemed deeper. But his blue eyes remained exactly the same. The room became painfully quiet. Finally he spoke. Elara. Hearing her name in his voice hurt more than she expected. Your Majesty, you are alive. A faint smile touched her lips. As you can see. He took a slow step toward her. I searched for you. She looked surprised. You did. After you disappeared, I sent men into the forest. No one found you. She did not know what to say. For years she had believed he never cared. Then another voice interrupted them. Who is she? Rowan stepped from behind her cloak. The little boy looked curiously at the king. The entire hall fell silent. Darius stared. Dark hair. Blue eyes. The exact same shade as his own. The same strong chin. The same expression. The king felt his heart skip. Who is this child? Elara's fingers tightened around Rowan's hand. My son. The words echoed inside him. Your son. Rowan smiled politely. Hello, sir. Darius could not stop staring. Something deep inside him shifted. The boy looked strangely familiar. As if he were looking into a memory. What is your name? Rowan. How old are you? The number struck him. 6 years. Exactly 6 years. A strange unease filled his chest. Then Rowan suddenly walked toward him. Elara almost stopped breathing. The little boy stood directly in front of the Alpha King. You are very tall. A few servants laughed softly. To everyone's surprise, Darius smiled. So I have been told. Rowan looked at him with bright eyes. Are you really the king? That must be lonely. The answer startled him. Lonely? Why would you think that? Because everyone is afraid of you. Silence. The child had spoken the truth. No one dared speak to him this way. Yet somehow he did not mind. In fact, it felt strangely pleasant. Before Darius could answer, a palace guard rushed inside. Your Majesty. What happened? Another wolf has collapsed. The king's expression darkened. The sickness had returned. The guard looked at Elara. People are saying the healer can save them. Silence filled the hall. Darius slowly turned toward her. Can you help them? Elara looked into his eyes. She remembered the stable. The dying wolves. The night everything changed. Then she nodded. Take me to them. Minutes later she entered the royal stables once again. Everything became still. The smell of hay. The wooden walls. The familiar sounds. And then she heard it. Soft whimper. An old white wolf slowly lifted its head. Its golden eyes widened. The animal stood. Then another wolf stood. And another. They all began moving toward her. The stable erupted with excited howls. Rowan stared in amazement. Mother. They know you. Elara could barely breathe. One by one the wolves surrounded her. The oldest among them gently rested its head against her hand. Exactly as it had years ago. Darius watched in complete shock. Nothing in this world made sense anymore. Then something even stranger happened. Rowan suddenly cried out. A silver light burst around the little boy. The wolves immediately turned toward him. And before anyone could move, the child fell to his knees. His eyes glowed. His body trembled. Then a small silver wolf stood where the boy had been. Silence. Absolute silence. The Alpha King stared in disbelief. Because the child who had just shifted into a wolf looked exactly like him. For several long seconds nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The stable stood frozen beneath a blanket of silence. Where Rowan had been standing only moments before now stood a small silver wolf. Moonlight spilled through the high windows and painted his fur with a pale glow. The wolves surrounding him lowered their heads. Not in fear. In respect. The sight sent a chill through every person watching. Elara's heart pounded. This was not supposed to happen. Not yet. Miriam had warned her that Rowan's gifts were growing stronger. But no one expected his first shift to happen here. Not in front of the Alpha King. Not in front of the entire royal staff. The little silver wolf looked around in confusion. His bright blue eyes searched for his mother. Then he trotted straight toward Elara. She immediately knelt and wrapped her arms around him. "It is all right. I'm here." The small wolf pressed against her chest. Slowly the silver glow faded. A few moments later Rowan stood there once again. A frightened little boy. His breathing shook. "Mother, what happened to me?" Elara stroked his hair. "You are safe." That was all she could say. Because she knew every eye in the stable was now watching them. Especially one pair. Darius Blackthorn stared at Rowan without blinking. His mind refused to process what he had just witnessed. The child looked like him. The wolf looked like him. Even the scent felt familiar. A dangerous suspicion began growing inside him. 6 years old. Blue eyes. A silver wolf. And born around the exact time Elara disappeared. Well, surely not. Yet his wolf already knew the truth. The beast inside him paced restlessly. "Our son." Darius clenched his jaw. He needed answers. Immediately. Before he could speak, another voice interrupted the silence. "How fascinating." Everyone turned. Lady Seraphina stood near the stable entrance. She wore a crimson gown and a smile that never reached her eyes. Her gaze lingered on Rowan. Then on Elara. Then on Darius. Something cold flashed across her face. The future queen had noticed everything. The resemblance. The connection. The danger. "How wonderful," she said softly. "A healer arrives after 6 years and suddenly strange children are shifting inside the royal stables." Elara stood slowly. There was nothing strange about it. "Oh." Seraphina smiled. "Think there is." The woman stepped closer. The air itself seemed to grow colder around her. "Tell me, child." She looked at Rowan. "Who is your father?" Rowan blinked. "I do not know." The answer was innocent, truthful. But Seraphina looked delighted. "You do not know." "Oh." The little boy looked at Elara. "Mother never talks about him." A shadow crossed Darius's face. Seraphina noticed. Her smile widened. "How unfortunate." The future queen turned toward the king. "Surely that raises questions." Darius did not answer. His eyes never left Rowan. Questions already filled his mind. Too many. Far too many. That night the palace felt different. Whispers spread through every corridor. Servants talked in secret. Guards exchanged curious looks. Everyone had heard about the silver wolf child. Everyone had seen how the king stared at him. Everyone was beginning to wonder. Elara knew it was only a matter of time. She sat beside Rowan's bed inside the guest chambers provided by the palace. The boy slept peacefully, unaware of the storm gathering around him. A knock came at the door. Elara immediately stood. When she opened it, she found Darius waiting outside. Alone. No guards. No advisors. Just him. "May I come in?" Her pulse quickened. After a moment she stepped aside. The king entered quietly. His gaze moved toward Rowan. The sleeping child looked peaceful beneath the blankets. Darius stared at him for a long moment. Then he spoke. "He has my eyes." Elara remained silent. "His wolf. Looks like mine." Still she said nothing. The silence frustrated him. "I deserve answers." "Do you?" The question surprised him. Her voice remained calm. But years of pain hid beneath it. "You banished me without listening. You believed lies. Now suddenly you deserve answers." Darius lowered his eyes. The words struck harder than any blade. "No. Do you?" She looked directly at him. "Do you know what it felt like to leave everything behind? To walk into a frozen forest alone? To carry a child with nowhere to go?" His chest tightened. "Child." The word echoed between them. Darius slowly looked toward Rowan again. His heart beat harder. "Is he mine?" The room became silent. Elara felt tears threaten to appear. Not from weakness. From exhaustion. Years of secrets. Years of protecting her son. Years of carrying everything alone. Yet she could not tell him. Not yet. Too much remained hidden. Too many enemies still watched. Cannot answer that. Oui. Because if I do, his life may be in danger. Those words changed everything. Darius looked at her sharply. Danger from who? Before she could answer, another sound came from outside. Scream. Then another. The palace erupted into chaos. Darius rushed toward the window. Fire. One of the towers was burning. Guards ran across the courtyard below. What happened? The king immediately moved toward the door. Stay here. Then he disappeared into the corridor. Elara's instincts screamed. Something was wrong. Very wrong. She hurried toward Rowan's bed. The boy was awake now. Mother. Stay close to me. Oui. Just do it. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. The fire felt too convenient. Too sudden. Distraction. Then she noticed something. The window. It was open. Her heart stopped. She had closed it earlier. Shadow moved outside. Rest. Silent. Elara grabbed Rowan and pulled him behind her. Who is there? No answer came. Then a figure climbed through the window. A masked assassin. A knife flashed in the moonlight. Rowan gasped. The assassin lunged. Elara shoved Rowan aside. The blade sliced her arm. Pain exploded through her body. She stumbled. The assassin attacked again. Suddenly a growl thundered through the room. The white wolf burst through the doorway. Its massive body slammed into the attacker. The assassin crashed into the wall. Another shadow appeared behind him. Then another. 3 assassins. Elara's blood turned cold. They came for Rowan. Not her. Rowan. Run. The boy obeyed instantly. The room erupted into violence. The wolves attacked. Furniture shattered. Glass exploded across the floor. One assassin grabbed Rowan. The child screamed. Mother. A silver light suddenly burst from Rowan's body. The attacker cried out and released him. The entire room shook. Then something appeared on Rowan's arm. A glowing symbol. Bright silver. Ancient. Powerful. Every wolf immediately lowered its head. Even the white wolf stepped back. Elara stared. Whoa. Cannot be. The mark continued glowing. Ancient memories flooded her mind. Stories Miriam once told. Legends. Prophecies. Royal blood. At that exact moment, Darius burst back into the room with guards behind him. He stopped. Everyone stopped. Their eyes locked onto Rowan's arm. The glowing symbol illuminated the entire chamber. Darius felt the blood leave his face. Because he recognized that mark. Every king before him knew its meaning. It appeared only once in a generation. Only on the true heir of the Alpha throne. And now it burned brightly on Rowan's skin. The room fell completely silent. Then Darius whispered the words nobody was ready to hear. The royal mark. And suddenly the greatest secret in the kingdom was no longer hidden. The silver mark glowed like moonlight. No one in the room dared to move. The symbol on Rowan's arm was ancient. A crescent moon wrapped around the head of a wolf. The mark of the royal heir. The mark carried only by the children of the Alpha bloodline. Darius stared at it as if the world had suddenly stopped making sense. Then he slowly looked at Rowan. The boy looked frightened. He was clutching his mother's hand with all his strength. The king's heart pounded. He remembered the child's eyes. The silver wolf. Age. The strange pull he had felt from the very beginning. Every piece suddenly fell into place. His knees almost gave way. Rowan was his son. His son. The child he never knew existed. The child who had grown up without him. The child who had nearly been killed tonight. A deep pain spread through his chest. He looked at Elara. Tears shone in her eyes. She had carried this burden alone for 6 years. Because of him. Because he had believed lies. Because he had sent her away. His wolf growled in fury. You rejected our mate. You abandoned our child. Darius could not argue. For the first time in years he felt ashamed. A guard stepped forward. Your Majesty. The king raised his hand. Leave us. The guards hesitated. Leave. They quickly obeyed. Soon only 4 remained in the room. Darius, Elara, Rowan, and the white wolf. The king slowly moved closer. The little boy stepped behind his mother. Fear crossed his small face. The sight nearly broke something inside him. He had frightened his own son. Is it true? His voice sounded rough. Elara closed her eyes. She could no longer hide the truth. Silence. The room became so quiet that the fire could be heard crackling in the hearth. Darius looked at Rowan again. My son. The words barely escaped him. Rowan looked confused. Mother. Why is he saying that? Elara knelt before her child. 'Cause he is your father. The boy blinked. The king. She nodded. The room seemed to tilt beneath Rowan's feet. For 6 years he had imagined his father. A warrior. Hunter. Traveler. Never a king. Never the alpha himself. He slowly looked at Darius. You are my father. A single tear slid down the king's face. The little boy said nothing. He simply stared. Darius felt his heart twist. He wanted to hold him, to speak to him, to tell him everything. But he had no right. Not yet. He looked at Elara. Why did you never tell me? She stood slowly. 'Cause I did not trust you. The answer struck him hard. She continued. I left this kingdom carrying your child and no one came after me. I nearly died in the forest. Men tried to kill me. His face changed. She looked directly into his eyes. Someone wanted me dead. And if they discovered I carried the royal heir they would have killed him too. Darius felt cold. Who sent those men? I do not know. But I know one thing. The danger never disappeared. The king's jaw tightened. Tonight proved she was right. Someone had tried to murder Rowan. Someone inside the palace knew the truth. Then another thought entered his mind. Terrible thought. Who had accused Elara all those years ago? Who had pushed for her exile? Who had called her a poisoner? His face darkened. Serafina. At that exact moment the door opened. As if fate itself had heard his thoughts. Lady Serafina entered. She looked around the room and immediately noticed the strange silence. What happened? No one answered. Her eyes moved to Rowan. Then to the glowing mark. For the first time since anyone had known her the future queen looked afraid. Mo. She stepped backward. Mo. Darius slowly turned toward her. You know what this mark means? Serafina forced a smile. Course I do. Then why do you look frightened? She said nothing. The king took another step. Who sent the assassins? Have no idea. Do not lie to me. Her face hardened. You would accuse me. I am asking questions. Because of this child. She pointed at Rowan. Because of a servant woman. The room became very still. Elara saw it immediately. The hatred. The jealousy. The fear. Serafina was not shocked by the truth. She was terrified of it. Darius suddenly remembered something. The false witnesses. The poison accusations. The stable workers. The pressure to exile Elara. Every memory now looked different. Every memory pointed toward one person. You framed her. The words came quietly. Serafina's eyes widened. I did no such thing. You poisoned the wolves. You lied to me. You destroyed my mate's life. Enough. She screamed the word. The room shook with her anger. Enough. Years of pretending suddenly disappeared. I did what was necessary. Silence. Darius stared at her. You admit it. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. I loved you. I stood beside you for years. I waited to become your queen. Then that girl appeared and your eyes changed. I saw the way you looked at her. I saw it. She pointed at Elara. She was nothing. Nothing. Yet your wolf chose her. Not me. Tears filled her eyes. I could not allow that. The truth hung in the air. Heavy and terrible. Darius felt sick. All those years. All that suffering. 'Cause of jealousy. Because of ambition. The king's voice became ice. You poisoned my wolves. You tried to kill my son. You framed my mate. Seraphina's face turned pale. I did it for us. There was never an us. The words struck her like a slap. For the first time fear entered her eyes. Darius turned toward the guards outside. Guards. Heavy footsteps echoed through the hall. Take Lady Seraphina to the tower. Mo. She stepped backward. Cannot. Take her. The guards approached. She looked at Darius, then at Elara, then at Rowan. Hatred twisted her beautiful face. This is not over. The guards grabbed her arms. She laughed suddenly. Cold, terrible laugh. You think you have one. You know nothing. The room fell silent. She looked directly at Elara. The truth about your mother is still buried. And when it rises, this kingdom will drown in blood. The guards pulled her away. Her laughter echoed down the corridor. Then silence returned. No one moved. No one spoke. At last Darius turned toward Elara. His eyes were full of regret. Full of pain. I'm sorry. The words sounded broken. Too late. No. He stepped closer. I cannot change the past. Mo. Cannot. A long silence passed. Then to Elara's surprise, the Alpha King slowly lowered himself to one knee. The most powerful man in the kingdom knelt before her. And before his son. Tears filled his eyes. Failed you both. Failed as your mate. I failed as your king. And I failed as his father. Rowan stared in shock. No one had ever knelt before him. Darius lifted his head. I do not ask for forgiveness tonight. I have not earned it. But I swear on my crown and my blood that I will protect you both with my life. The room became silent. Then a scream echoed from somewhere outside. A guard burst into the chamber. Your Majesty. The king stood immediately. What happened? The guard looked terrified. Lady Seraphina has escaped. The room froze. There is more. The guard could barely breathe. The prince is gone. Silence. Then Elara's face lost all color. The guard nodded. The room where he was sleeping is empty. Rowan was standing beside her. Then she realized. Oh. The child beside her was an illusion. A trick created by his shifting powers. The real Rowan had disappeared. And somewhere in the darkness Lady Seraphina was taking the royal air with her. The world seemed to stop. Elara could not breathe. Her son was gone. For one terrible moment she simply stood there staring at the guard. Then panic exploded inside her. Where is he? The guard lowered his head. We do not know. She pushed past him and ran. Darius followed immediately. Servants jumped out of their way as they raced through the corridors. Rowan. Her voice echoed through the palace. Rowan. No answer came. Every room was searched. Every hall. Every staircase. Nothing. The little boy had vanished. At last they reached the royal gardens. Snow had begun to fall again. The moon hung high above the palace. Then Elara saw it. A small wooden wolf lying beside the fountain. Rowan's toy. She picked it up with shaking hands. Tears filled her eyes. He had dropped it here. The white wolf suddenly growled. Its ears lifted. Then it raced toward the forest beyond the palace walls. Elara followed. Darius stayed beside her. Neither of them spoke. Fear moved faster than words. They reached the edge of the forest. There they found footprints in the snow. Small footprints. And beside them larger ones. She took him. Darius's voice was low and dangerous. The king's eyes darkened. No one touches my son. The words stopped Elara. My son. For the first time he had said it without hesitation. Without doubt. The king looked at her. I know I do not deserve him. But I will bring him home. She nodded once. Then together they followed the tracks. The forest grew darker. The wind became colder. At last they saw light ahead. Torches. Dozens of them. An old stone ruin stood in the middle of the woods. Armed men surrounded it. Rebels. Northern warriors. Their banners hung from the broken walls. Darius's face hardened. The rebellion. This was never only about Rowan. Well, someone wanted the throne. And Rowan stood in the way. A scream suddenly echoed through the ruins. Mother. Elara's heart shattered. Rowan. She ran forward but Darius caught her arm. They will kill you. Another voice rang through the night. No one move. Lady Seraphina stepped into the torchlight. She wore a dark cloak and held Rowan by the shoulder. The child looked frightened but unharmed. Elara felt both relief and terror. Let him go. Seraphina smiled. You still think you can command me? Her eyes moved toward Darius. I warned you. You chose her over me. You chose this child. The king's voice became ice. Release my son. Your son. She laughed. How quickly everything changed. A week ago you did not even know he existed. Darius did not answer. His eyes never left Rowan. The rebels slowly surrounded them. There were too many. At least 50. Seraphina stepped closer to the child. This boy cannot live. He carries the royal mark. As long as he breathes, my dreams are dead. Rowan looked up at her. Why do you hate me? For a brief second something flickered in her eyes. Then it vanished. Because you were born. Silence followed. Elara's hands trembled. Enough. She stepped forward. Take me instead. Seraphina smiled. A mother until the end. Then her expression changed. You remind me of your own mother. Elara froze. What did you say? The woman looked almost pleased. You still do not know. Know what? Seraphina laughed softly. The truth. The truth about Queen Selene. Darius frowned. What truth? The woman lifted her chin. The queen did not die protecting her daughter. She was murdered. Silence. Elara's face lost all color. Murdered. By who? Seraphina's smile widened. By me. The world became completely still. Even the wind seemed to stop. You lie. I do not. She looked directly into Elara's eyes. I was there. I held the knife. I watched your mother fall. I watched your father die beside her. I was the one who opened the palace gates to the enemy. The words struck like thunder. Tears filled Elara's eyes. Mo. The rebels around them began whispering. Even Darius looked shocked. Wait. His voice was low. Because I was promised a crown. I was promised power. I have spent my entire life reaching for thrones. And every time someone stood in my way, I removed them. She looked at Rowan. Including him. Rage exploded inside Elara. For years she had carried questions. For years she had wondered why her family died. Now the monster stood right before her. The air around Elara suddenly changed. The wolves emerged from the forest. 1, then 10, then 20. They surrounded the ruins. Golden eyes glowed in the darkness. The rebels stepped back. The wolves were not looking at Darius. They were looking at Elara. A soft silver light appeared around her. Her hair moved in the wind. The moon itself seemed brighter. Miriam's voice echoed in her mind. One day you will remember who you are. Elara slowly lifted her head. Her emerald eyes shone like stars. Remember now. Everyone stared at her. She stepped forward. I am not the stable girl you threw away. I am not the orphan you tried to kill. The silver light grew stronger. I am Elara Moonfong, daughter of King Aldrich and Queen Selene, the last princess of Moonfong, and the rightful queen. The wolves howled. The sound shook the night. The rebels looked terrified. Some dropped their weapons. Others fell to their knees. Because they recognized the old stories. The Moonfong queen who commanded wolves. The woman chosen by the moon goddess. Seraphina stepped back. Impossible. You should have died. Mo. Elara's voice became calm and powerful. You should have. She raised her hand. The wolves moved forward. The rebels broke apart in fear. Battle exploded. Darius shifted into his massive black wolf and attacked. The night filled with growls and cries. Steel clashed. Torches fell. Snow turned red. Elara ran toward Rowan. A rebel blocked her path. The white wolf threw him aside. Another attacked. Elara lifted her hand. Silver light burst forward. The man flew backward. Even she looked surprised. Her power had awakened completely. At last she reached her son. Rowan threw himself into her arms. "Mother, I thought you would not come." She held him tightly. "I will always come for you." A scream suddenly echoed behind them. Seraphina stood near the edge of the ruins. Her clothes were torn. Blood stained her hands. Yet she was smiling. "You have won tonight. But you still know nothing." Everyone turned toward her. She laughed. The Lake Queen left one final secret. A secret buried with her. She pointed at Rowan. "The child is not merely the royal heir. He is the child of prophecy." Silence fell. Seraphina's smile became colder. "And because of him, the kingdoms will go to war." Before anyone could stop her, she stepped backward. The ground beneath the ruined tower collapsed. Stone crashed into darkness. Seraphina disappeared. Only her laughter remained. The battle ended. The night grew quiet. Elara held Rowan close. Darius stood beside them. But none of them spoke. Because one question now burned brighter than the moon above them. What prophecy had Seraphina died protecting? Dawn arrived slowly. The first rays of sunlight touched the ruined stones, and the battlefield finally became quiet. The rebels had surrendered. The wolves disappeared back into the forest. Only 3 people remained standing in the center of the broken courtyard. Elara, Darius, and Rowan. The little boy still held his mother's hand. He looked tired, confused, afraid. Too much had happened in one night. Darius knelt before him. "Are you hurt?" Rowan shook his head. The king gently touched his hair. For a long moment he simply looked at him. His son. His flesh and blood. 6 years had been stolen from him. 6 birthdays. 6 winters. 6 years of bedtime stories and laughter and tears. A deep sadness settled inside him. "I should have been there." Rowan blinked. "Where?" "For everything." The boy looked at him carefully. Then he asked the question that broke the king's heart. "Did you not want me?" Silence. The wind itself seemed to stop. Darius felt pain spread through his chest. He gathered the little boy into his arms. "I wanted you before I even knew you existed." Rowan's small hands slowly held his shoulders. "Really? More than anything." The child was quiet for a moment. Then he hugged him back. Elara watched them. Tears filled her eyes. For years she had imagined this moment. Sometimes she imagined anger. Sometimes bitterness. Instead she saw something simple. A father holding his son for the first time. A family trying to become whole. Footsteps echoed behind them. Elder Miriam emerged from the trees. She looked at the ruined tower. Then at Rowan. "I feared this day would come." Elara turned. "You know about the prophecy?" The old woman nodded. "Have always known." Silence settled over the courtyard. Then Miriam walked toward the child. She gently touched the glowing mark on his arm. "Many years ago your mother left behind a prophecy. Prophecy older than kingdoms." Rowan listened carefully. The old woman smiled softly. "It speaks of a child born from 2 royal bloodlines. A child marked by the moon. A child who will unite the wolves and end the ancient wars." Darius frowned. "That does not sound like a curse." "It is not." Miriam's face darkened. "But there is another part." "A part?" The old woman looked toward the horizon. "The kingdoms will fight to control him. Some will worship him. Others will fear him. And many will try to kill him." Elara immediately pulled Rowan closer. "Oh. No one will touch him." Miriam's eyes softened. "That is why the moon goddess chose you. The world does not need another warrior. It needs a queen." The words settled over them. "Queen." Elara looked down. All her life she had been a stable girl. A servant. An orphan. Now she was being asked to become something greater. Darius stepped beside her. "You already are one." She looked at him. "I've made many mistakes. Too many. But I know one truth. These people need you. And so do I." Silence. Then slowly he lowered himself to one knee. The king of the realm bowed his head. Gasps came from the soldiers nearby. Darius Blackthorn had never knelt before anyone. Yet now he did. Ask your forgiveness. Not as a king. Not as an alpha. But as the man who failed you. Elara could barely breathe. He lifted his eyes to hers. I cannot change the pain I caused. I cannot give you back the years you lost. But if you allow it, I will spend the rest of my life trying to make things right. The courtyard became very still. Every eye turned toward her. She looked at the man before her. The man who had broken her heart. The man who had also crossed a battlefield for their son. People were complicated. Love was complicated. And healing took time. She slowly reached out her hand. Darius looked at it. Then at her. Stand up. He did. Tears shone in his eyes. I cannot promise everything will be easy. No. I cannot forget the past overnight. No. She took a deep breath. But I do not want to live in the past anymore. A faint smile appeared on his face. Neither do I. Then Rowan looked between them. Does this mean we are a family now? Silence. Then both of them laughed softly. The little boy smiled so brightly that even the weary soldiers around them smiled. Days later the kingdom gathered in the great courtyard. The war was over. The rebels had surrendered. The truth about Seraphina had spread across the land. And for the first time in many years the people had hope. The royal advisor stepped forward. Today we welcome our true queen. The great doors opened. Elara walked into the courtyard wearing a silver gown. A delicate crown rested upon her auburn hair. People stared. Some remembered the stable girl. Some remembered the orphan. Many could hardly believe their eyes. Darius stood beside the throne. His gaze never left her. She looked beautiful, strong, radiant, exactly as a queen should. The advisor lifted the ancient crown of Moonfong. By blood and by right, we crown Elara Moonfong as queen. The crown touched her head. The courtyard erupted. Long live the queen. Long live the queen. Tears filled her eyes. She had spent her life believing she belonged nowhere. Now an entire kingdom called her their queen. Then she looked down. Rowan stood beside her wearing a small royal cloak. He looked very serious. She smiled. He smiled back. At that moment sunlight broke through the clouds. A strange silver glow appeared around the boy. The crowd fell silent. Rowan looked confused. Mother. His eyes suddenly changed. The blue color vanished. They became bright silver. Exactly like the moon above. A gasp swept through the courtyard. Miriam's face turned pale. The final sign. Darius frowned. What does it mean? The old woman slowly smiled. It means the prophecy has begun. Silence. She looked at the child. There has not been a king with silver eyes for 1,000 years. Rowan blinked. Is that bad? Miriam laughed softly. No, little one. It means you will become the greatest alpha king this world has ever seen. The crowd erupted once again. Cheers filled the sky. The wolves in the distant forest began to howl. Elara looked at her son. Then at Darius. Then at the kingdom spread before her. The orphan had become a queen. The rejected mate had found her family. And the little boy born in secret had become the child of prophecy. For the first time in many years peace settled inside her heart. The future remained uncertain. There would be new dangers, new battles, new mysteries, but they would face them together. As a family, as a kingdom, as one pack beneath the moon.